like Caitlin Clark has a huge update.
Caitlin Clark has in fact returned to an extent. She has returned to an extent with the Indiana Fever. Look, Caitlin Clark is far from back.
Caitlin Clark finally stepped back onto the hardwood, and the internet went wild. The moment a single clip dropped of her casually pulling up from the logo, as if she'd never missed a beat, the entire basketball world stopped in its tracks.
Far from being fully back and, everything's all good and you don't need to be worried, because let's be real, we kind of should be worried. Because, again, they're still being secretive about it. But at least this means we have to assume she's back this season.
One short clip, just a few seconds long, and suddenly every fan, every rival, even the WNBA itself looked uneasy. Because if Caitlin Clark is back, the entire balance of power just shifted. Think about how we got here. For weeks, fans were left frustrated, fed only vague updates from the Indiana Fever. Nothing was clear, everything sounded like riddles. And then out of nowhere, boom. There she was, drilling shots from deep, moving with confidence, grinning like she'd been waiting for this moment all along. Forget the cryptic press releases. Forget Stephanie White's poker face interviews. Forget the endless day-to-day tag that dragged into months. That video said everything. Caitlin Clark is back. But here's the real question. Should she be thrown straight into the fire, reclaiming her starting spot immediately? Or is it smarter to bring her back gradually, easing her into game speed off the bench?
She's back this season. So Caitlin Clark running 5-0 with the backups, which is, again, something that we hadn't seen before. So Caitlin's actually at practice. So this is the first we have heard of, Caitlin actually being at practice. And because Caitlin's at practice, we know at least the goal is and the expectation is that she's going to be back.
That debate is raging everywhere right now. So let's dive in, because this story is bigger than one highlight. It's about how Caitlin Clark's return could reshape the entire WNBA season. It all started with a clip. One moment, fans were rolling their eyes at yet another vague Fever update. The next, their feeds exploded with a few seconds of pure electricity. Caitlin Clark, in full gear, pulling up from the logo. Swish. No hesitation. No limp. No sign she was ever in rehab mode.
Which is a positive thing for the Indiana Fever, because the Indiana Fever don't stand a single chance.
Let's be real about what this means. This wasn't a casual warm-up drill. This was game-ready energy. No wonder WNBA Twitter spiraled into chaos. The clip was reposted thousands of times, slowed down, dissected frame by frame. Reddit threads popped up with titles like, "She's Back," and "Logo Caitlin Lives." Instagram fan pages were cranking out highlight edits before the official accounts even said a word. That single moment proved what we already knew. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's an event. And it wasn't only about her jumper. Anyone can put up shots during rehab. This was different. Her movements were crisp. She cut hard to the rim. She dribbled with rhythm. No hesitation. No testing her limits. She looked like a competitor itching for battle. Fans could feel it. This wasn't rehab. This was preparation for war. To understand the shock, you have to rewind to how the Fever handled her injury saga. 4 weeks, their updates bordered on comedy. First she was day-to-day. Then she was sprinting full court. Days later, actually, no, she wasn't sprinting yet. Out of nowhere, suddenly she had an ankle tweak too, but they forgot to mention it earlier. The contradictions piled up until fans were left completely in the dark. It felt like a secret society. Injury news treated like classified files. No clear timeline. No transparency. Just riddles and contradictions. Fans grew restless. Critics called it a circus. And the longer Clark sat out, the more conspiracy theories spread. Was the team hiding how bad it was? Protecting ticket sales by dangling hope? Or was Clark more hurt than anyone dared admit? That's why the video hit like a bombshell. It cut through all the noise. No whispers. No riddles. Fans didn't need statements. They had proof. And in a league where information is scarce, one piece of visual evidence carries more weight than a dozen press releases. One shot from the logo carried more weight than weeks of press releases. That single clip told the truth the updates couldn't. Let's break it down, because every second of that footage told a story. Caitlin wasn't just jogging around. She was moving with intent, cutting, pivoting, attacking space. The ball was on a string in her hands, her trademark swagger on full display. And then there was the smile between reps. That wasn't the face of someone cautiously testing an injury. That was the look of a player who feels like herself again. Fans noticed. Social media detectives zoomed in on her stride, slowed the clip frame by frame, searching for any hint of a limp. Was she favoring the groin? Was there a hitch in her steps? The overwhelming verdict: no. She looked fluid, confident, and game-ready. And then came the detail that set off even more speculation: her jersey. Injured players usually wear a neutral color to separate them from the first unit. Not Caitlin. She was in full fever blue, the same as the starters. That tiny choice spoke volumes. This wasn't rehab. This wasn't a cameo. This was reintegration. Of course, not everyone is ready to declare her fully back. Basketball legends and medical experts are urging caution. Lisa Leslie, one of the most respected voices in the game, flat out said the Fever should consider shutting Clark down for the season. Protect the franchise. Don't gamble. Prioritize long-term health over short-term gains. Coach Stephanie White struck a similar tone, reminding everyone that endurance and contact readiness matter more than a few flashy shots. And they're not wrong. Groin injuries are tricky, unpredictable, and one wrong cut could undo weeks of progress. The safe route would be to hold her out longer. But fans see the footage differently. To them, if Caitlin's already pulling up from the logo with confidence, then the comeback isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. If Caitlin Clark is drilling logo threes like that, she's not here to sit in street clothes. One fan nailed it on Twitter: she's a competitor. Let her play. And honestly, they're not wrong. This isn't mid-season load management, it's crunch time. The Fever are fighting for survival, and Clark wasn't drafted to watch from the bench. That's the clash right now. Medical caution versus competitive fire. Both sides make valid points. Look at what the Fever have been without her. Duct tape lineups, hardship contracts, role players stretched way beyond their limits. Kelsey Mitchell forced into superhero mode just to keep them afloat. Lexi Hull playing out of necessity, not design. And the injury list? Brutal. Sophie Cunningham out. Sydney Colson sidelined. Ari McDonald gone. Chloe Bibby hobbling. It's been survival mode every single night, and the truth is simple: they've been sinking. Every game without Clark felt like a step closer to irrelevance. That's why this footage isn't just encouraging, it's season-saving. Even at 70%, Clark changes everything. Aaliyah Boston suddenly gets breathing room without constant double teams. Mitchell doesn't have to shoulder the entire scoring load. Role players finally slide back into roles that make sense. And most importantly, Clark's gravity forces defenses to respect every inch of the floor. Then came the detail that drove fans into a frenzy: her practice jersey. No neutral rehab color. No separation from the team. She was dressed like a starter. That may sound small, but in sports culture, it's massive. Fans zoomed in, argued about color shades, dissected practice traditions like it was the Zapruder film. And the conclusion was clear: if she's in starter gear, she's not dabbling. She's in the mix. The body language sealed it. Clark wasn't tentative. She wasn't nervous. She was smiling, laughing, moving with joy. That emotional signal mattered just as much as the mechanics. Most athletes coming back from injury hesitate. Caitlin didn't. She looked ready. And maybe, just maybe, the Fever want to keep it that way. Keep opponents in the dark until the last possible second. Which brings us to the million-dollar question: when do you unleash her? When and how should Caitlin Clark return? The Fever's schedule may have already given us the answer. Their upcoming matchup against the Chicago Sky looks tailor-made. The Sky aren't title contenders, which makes it the perfect low-risk setting to test her legs before the schedule ramps up. If Clark's return is happening, that's the spot. But the bigger question is how. Straight into the starting lineup? Or eased in off the bench? Don't laugh, there's a case for the latter. Remember Steph Curry's legendary playoff return? He came off the bench, built rhythm, and then took over. Sometimes the slow play pays off. For Clark, 15 to 20 minutes in controlled bursts could be the sweet spot, enough to spark the team while still protecting the franchise cornerstone. Of course, fans won't want that. They want fireworks from tip-off. And honestly, so does the league. Clark is a ratings engine. Every second she's on the court draws eyes, sells tickets, and fuels headlines. But the Fever can't ignore the long game. They're walking a tightrope, chasing wins in the present while safeguarding their future. This decision goes beyond Clark's health. It's about Indiana's survival and the league's momentum. Without her, the Fever are toast. With her, even at 70%, they're dangerous. Her presence alone changes spacing, opens the